So welcome everyone to our session today. Excited to talk to you about PowerPoint. PowerPoint is one of these tools that if you need to present information to someone, it's a super easy way to be able to do that. So it's really more than a reporting tool. It really acts like a meeting space. And that's what I use it for on a very regular basis. When we design slides around the outcomes, such as decisions to make, input to collect, or actions to assign, it really becomes easier to facilitate that discussion and much harder for the meeting to drift. So the goal is alignment, keeping people focused on the purpose, the time, and the next steps rather than consuming a bunch of information. So I remember years ago, everybody was it was the death of PowerPoint because everybody was doing PowerPoint presentations and they were putting just tons of things on our slides and we were doing tons of animation, tons of different transitions and using things really inappropriately. And that's why we're here today, is we want to talk about some of the tools that you may not be aware of that as a presenter can be very beneficial to you. So this is where we shift mindset from presenting really to people to working with them when we're doing our presentation. So start with an agenda slide that clearly shows the goal, the desired outcome, the time frame, and who's leading each section if you have different sections with different speakers, so to say. Make decisions visible by really calling out when a decision is needed and showing options, criteria, and really the recommendations. So we want to capture action items intentionally using a single owner, a single task or a due date type format, ideally updating it live. So a parking lot slide really helps acknowledge off-topic items without letting them derail the meeting. So always end with next steps so someone leaves knowing what happens before the next meeting. We want to take a look at the different presenter tools that can really support the facilitation. So you as the presenter, as the facilitator. Speaker notes are where your cues can be located at so that you can know what you should be discussing during a specific slide. We want slides to be clean. We want the speaker, the facilitator, to really have the details rehearsed well enough to be able to really do the presentation without reading what's on slides. So presenter view is a great option within. So we have speaker notes as a great tool. We have presenter view built into PowerPoint that you can really see your speaker notes that you have entered. You can preview the upcoming slide that's coming next. You can track time while the audience sees just the content, which is what you're seeing right now. I have the speaker view, and I'll show you how that all works here in just a few minutes. But another tool we're going to talk about today is going to be sections. These are going to help you to organize your slide decks so that you can put them in an order based on the agenda, based on the speaker, etc. And I'll show you some tools that are great for being the presenter and getting things organized prior to running the actual show itself. And then speaking of shows, we have a feature that we're going to talk about called custom shows and hiding slides. And these really help you to prepare a deep dive or backup content without really cluttering up the main meeting flow. So I'll definitely show you how those tools can be very helpful as the presenter. Now, we sometimes need to be thinking about the before, the during, and the after the meeting. Kind of having a checklist so that you know what should be done prior to, during the meeting, and what are you going to do for follow-up afterwards. And PowerPoint can be used for all of those different avenues. So Copilot can help draft agendas, talk tracks, decision prompts, summaries, but it's critical really to remember that you still own the accuracy, the confidentiality, and the final wording of what it is you're going to have on each slide and what you're going to actually say. So even if you have PowerPoint really kind of give you speaker notes, you still have to go back and put them in your own words. So think of Copilot as being an assistant for you. It's like an accelerator, but it's not autopilot. It helps you move faster, but human judgment stays in the driver's seat for sure. Okay. So when it comes to before the meeting, preparation is where effective meetings are really won or lost. Start by clarifying one or two concrete outcomes, decisions, approvals, or the information that is needed, and reflect those on the agenda slide. A time box for each section so discussions stay focused and predictable. We want to prep the optional content in an appendix or a custom show so it's available if you need it, but it's not going to be a distraction if you don't need it. Definitely draft speaker notes with prompts, have transitions on your slides, and rehearse. And you're going to want to rehearse directly in presenter view. And while I'm thinking of it, I want to mention this because this has happened to me. I want to have you make sure that when you go to rehearse, when you're going to practice, make sure you're actually using what you're going to use to present. So if I'm presenting on a monitor that you're going to see, or I'm going to do it on a big TV screen in a conference room or whatever you're going to use, make sure you're practicing on that screen because colors can look different. One time I had a presentation that had some green colors in it, but when I went to I was doing it at a technical college, that TV screen showed it very, very different, and I had to do a quick change because I didn't have time to practice prior to. So if you get an opportunity to use the equipment that you're going to use for the presentation, highly recommend. Do the final test on all the logistics, your audio, your video, your fonts, the screen sharing on the device you're going to actually use. That's going to make a key difference. But then during the meeting, your role shifts to facilitation. Open with purpose, confirm the goal, the agenda, the expectations for decisions and timing. Like if I'm going to be doing something for 2 hours, for the next 2 hours, we're going to be, discussing this. Use your notes to guide the discussion before advancing slides rather than rushing through your actual content. Capture decisions in the moment before starting them, confirming agreement and recording the actual wording. Use that parking lot to really kind of manage those off-topic items and assign ownership. Always close with a recap so everyone hears the same decisions and what are the next steps. So after the meeting, what's going to happen determines whether to actually give your slides to the audience or what are you going to do with them? You could always send a recap to everybody on the decisions, the action items, the due dates, while the conversation is still fresh in their minds. Choose the right artifact, whether it's going to be a PowerPoint of your slide decks, it's going to be the notes or handouts type things, because there's different ways, of course, that you can do that. And update the deck before the next meeting by archiving the completed items and keeping the active agenda up front. So track follow through really by starting the next meeting with the previous action items from the slides. Okay, so just some things to kind of be thinking of. Now, bringing Copilot into things can be very helpful. So these prompts that I'm showing you on my screen really are prompts that show ways that Copilot can support the meeting prep and the follow-up. There's so many different things that Copilot does to help us. So you can ask Copilot to create agenda slides with time boxes and outcomes, draft discussion questions and decision statements, and turn bullets into structured, really kind of decision slides. just whatever it is that you need Copilot to help you with. And at the end, helping you to recap summaries, those kind of things, help you rewrite notes, especially if you are recording the meeting, then you can have Copilot really help you with all of that. So the key is simplicity. Tell Copilot what type of audience you want that you're going to be presenting to, the tone, the purpose. Then always review the output before sharing. Now, always keep in mind who your audience and create your presentation for your audience, whether it's your speaker notes or it's the slide contents themselves. So for meeting-driven presentation, every slide should communicate one clear message. The slide title should state the takeaway, not just the topic, so people can grasp the point quickly. Keep text slim, friendly. Short bullets and plenty of white space really works best, and detailed explanations really should be live in the speaker notes instead of shrinking the font size. I don't know if you've ever been to a presentation where I swear the font size was a size 10 or a size 12. We really want bigger font sizes. But like I said, make sure that it's appropriate for the content. Consistency is going to matter. Use the same theme, fonts, colors, ideally through a slide master. We're going to talk about what I mean by that, so that you don't have to be working with every slide and really dictating what happens. We want to have similar things going on. Make it readable. That is so critical, especially in meetings. High contrast and large fonts really ensure that the context can be read from anywhere in the room or on a shared screen. Visuals should be intentional. Charts, icons, images really should be clearly labeled. Finally, animation and transitions need to be subtle and purposeful. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a second. Also, simply reveal the items when you need them. And that's where animation can help. I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's actually dive over to a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to do some of these items in, just so you can have a much better idea as to what was I talking about during all of that. Starting with slide layouts. If you go to create a new slide, so you open up a brand new blank presentation, you are presented with what is called a title slide. This is a layout called title slide, and it's giving you two placeholders of where the title and the subtitle can go. And by default, they are pre-formatted. So when you go to create a presentation and you're actually designing everything, there are different layouts depending on the theme of your document, of your presentation, I should say. If you go to the home tab of the ribbon, in the slides group is a layout button. So you can see by default, it's using a title slide. But just so you know, if I add a new slide, it's not a title slide. By default, it goes to what is called a title and content layout. So if I go back to layouts, it's on title and content. But if I wanted it to be a title only, or I want it to be a to content, or a picture with caption, these are your by default layouts that you get in a blank presentation. Now, what if I'm going to be creating a presentation from scratch without the help of Copilot, and I want certain things to happen on slides as we add them in? Well, you can actually modify what happens every time that you come in and you add in a slide. But before I do that, just so you're aware of this, if you have never done this before, this is very important. From the design tab of the ribbon, you're going to find themes. By default, you are using the latest Office theme. So it has a default font, it has default layouts, and it has default colors that it's going to use if you add in any objects like charts or graphics. But if you switch to a different theme, which some of these have been around since the beginning of time, I wish they'd mix these up again to kind of get them a little bit more modern, but you can see that we have all these different options. And if you decided you wanted to use one of these, like this has actually been a little bit updated. I'm going to click on this one. You can see that the title slide is very different than the title and content. And if I go back to the Home tab and look at layout, you can see all of them are using that same pattern of colors and graphical objects. Just so you know that happens. So every time you switch to a theme, a different theme, it's going to change the placeholders you get on each of the layouts, which means where your objects are going to go, whether it's text or it's an image, it's a chart, whatever the case might be. So highly recommend that you choose your theme before you start adding content, because it's going to make it much easier for keeping things consistent. But if I go back to design and I go back to my drop down for all my themes and I just switch it back to the office theme, I'm back to default again. And what if every time that I create a title and content slide, I want it to have my company logo? Or what if I want on every slide, no matter what slide it is, I want my logo to appear? And I want certain things to be used. I want in this layout, I want it to look different. We can modify it. You can modify it for your company branding as well. If you go to the View tab of the ribbon, on the left-hand side, you're going to find this Master Views. If you click on Slide Master, this takes you into a different view, and you have a different tab on the ribbon called the Slide Master tab with different tools you can use. But on the left-hand side are all the slide layouts. If I go to the very top one, that is the master, that whatever you do there, it's going to modify all slides. So if I go to that one and I want my logo to appear on every one of these, I could go to the Insert tab, go to Pictures, go to this device, and I could find a logo. So if I just go back here and let me say that I go here and I go in and I just put in logo, just to give you an idea. I'll just bring in this agent's logo. I'm going to click insert. And of course, you could see on the left-hand side, as soon as I brought this in, it's on every slide layout. But I'm going to resize it and I'm going to put it at the bottom right or the bottom left corner. I want it to appear on every slide in that specific position. Every layout on the left-hand side has that same icon. But let's say that I go to the title and content. If I go to the left-hand side and click the third icon down, that's the slide for title and content. And if I want this object to look different, like I want it to actually have, I'm going to go to shape format, and I want it to have this blue background color, and I want it to have this orange or red outline color, and I want the weight to be like that. If I want that on every title and content, I can do it in the master so I don't have to change it on every slide. So you want to find the things that are going to help make it easier for you as the presenter when you go to run your presentation. Now, I'm not going to go through any more on those, but just so you're noticing that this is something that can be extremely beneficial. Now I'm going to go to the ribbon to the Slide Master tab, and on the right-hand side, I'm going to click Close Master View. You can see on the title slide, it has the logo at the bottom left. The title and content has the logo at the bottom, and it's got this blue background and that red border going around the title of that slide layout. So each slide can be dictated on what you want to happen consistently. Okay? That consistency is key. Now, a couple of other things. What if you wanted to add in video or audio to a presentation? You can do that at any time. And I'm going to actually buzz over to a different presentation here. So let's say that I'm in this presentation and I want to add sound to this particular slide. I want to add a video, I want to add sound, whatever your case might be. An example of this when you're doing a presentation is, what if you're doing a presentation on sales for the second half of the year, and you have a new commercial that's coming out. You're going to have both a TV commercial, so you want to put in the video, or you have a radio commercial, and you want your sales staff or your employees to all hear it. You could add both to one slide, or you could have different slides with those added in. Now, let's say that I want to add in a new slide that is going to include a video. I could go to Home tab. I'm going to say New Slide, and it's going to come in with this, click to add title, etc. I have the ability of coming down to my icons, and if I want to bring in a video, I can click on this little icon for video, or I could go to the Insert tab, and on the right-hand side in the Media group, I can click Video. If I have something on my computer, I could go to this device, I could go to stock videos, or I could go to online videos. So if you have your commercial saved to your computer somewhere, go to this device, navigate to the physical location of where that video is located at, select it, click Insert, and it's going to bring it into your presentation. When you have video added, you'll have a new 2 tabs on the ribbon. One is called Video Playback. The other is called, Video Format. The other is called Playback. I go to the Playback first because this is where, how do you want that video to run? Do you want it to run automatically when you come to this slide during the presentation, or do you want to click on it to run it? I'm going to say Start, and I'm going to say Automatically, which means that when I run this presentation, it's going to automatically start that video. If I want it to play full screen, I can choose that. If I want it to hide when it's not playing, or if I want it to loop until I press Escape to stop it, you could do that. You've got a lot of different choices. You can even trim it a little bit. You can add bookmarks to it, so you can be jumping to your bookmarks. There's a lot of built-in video capability. But in a moment, I'm going to show you how to run this with that video. Now, I'm going to add a new slide. And on this slide, I want to have some audio. I can go back to the Insert tab again on the right-hand side in the Media group. I can click Audio. I can add audio from my PC, or I can record audio. I'm going to say Audio on my PC. I've got this little soundtrack. I'm going to click Insert, and it will automatically add that. Now notice that it comes in with this speaker icon, and then it's got this play bar, just like the video had a play bar also. If you look at the Playback tab, do you want it to run automatically, or do you want it to actually be clicked on to run? And you can see that you can hide it during the show. You can play it across multiple slides. So if you're going to do music, some type of sound that way, and you want it to play across multiple slides, you can actually do that. You can have it loop until you stop it, all kinds of different things. But what if I actually have something that is coming from the internet, and I want to take something from the internet and bring it in from a video? That seems to be a very popular choice. So I'm going to actually go to, let me back up there. I'm going to bring in this video. And I'm going to add in a new slide just so you can see, because I know a lot of people bring things in from having video from YouTube and the internet. So I'm going to go back to Insert. I'm going to go back to Video. Oops, not that. I meant to say Video, Online Video, just so you could see how you actually do this. You're going to just paste the URL. So if you're on the internet and you go to a website that actually has the video that you want, just copy the URL, then you can just paste it. They have made it so much easier than it ever used to be. Then you click Insert, and it's going to insert that video coming directly from the internet. Now, of course, you're going to need to make sure that you have access to the internet when you go to run it, because it is actually a link. You can have it be embedded when you save the PowerPoint, though. long story short on that one. But once again, how do you want it to play? I'm going to keep this one on click. I want to click on it to actually play it so that when I run the presentation, you can see how that's going to work. So I'll give it just a minute. I'm going to do a transitions and automation. Then I'll come back and talk about running this. So when it comes to transitions, transitions are going to be what we use to move from one slide to the next. That's called a transition. I typically change my view. Right now I'm in what is called normal view in PowerPoint, and I typically change my view down at the bottom right. I go to this 4 squares icon, which is called slide sorter. You can also simply go to the view tab of the ribbon, and on the left-hand side, click slide sorter. Now, the reason I use this view is because for a presenter, this is a great way to know, does this presentation already have animation or transition? How do I know? Well, when you look at this, you see the squares of each slide. You don't have the navigation on the left-hand side. This is much easier because your focus is not on content on the slide. It's actually on what's going to happen with the slide. If you look at my slide number 1, the slide number is right underneath it, and then this says 3 seconds. Slide number 2 says 5 seconds. You can see that these actually have timing to them. And this has animation or a transition. If I go to that little star underneath a slide and click on it, you will see a live preview of the animation or the transition. So if you have a star that tells you there's something already applied, either transitions or animation or both. And then if you have a time, like this has 3 seconds, that means that the transition from going from slide 1 to slide 2 is going to happen after 3 seconds. Slide 2 is going to automatically navigate to slide 3 after 5 seconds. So I'll show you in just a second how you can set that up. But I can see that slide 3 does have animation or transition. If I click on that, I could see it automatically waved away. But 4 doesn't have any. 5 doesn't have, well, 5 does, 6 doesn't. If I want to select multiple slides to apply the same transition, because sometimes I use the same transition on slides that are similar to each other, you can select those slides by using your control key. So as long as you hold down your control key, you could select multiple slides at once. Then go to the ribbon, click transition, and you can see you have this gallery of choices. So you could say you want to cut, you want to shape, you want to cover, uncover, you want to flash, you want to roll over. There's a drop down for more where you have subtle, exciting, and a dynamic content categories. So depending on what it is that you want, you choose the transition you want it to make, but use appropriate transitions because this is what it's going to look like when it moves from one slide to the next. So apply the transitions that you want, select those, go ahead and put your transition in there, and you can see it do a live preview. Okay. So transitions can be a very important part of using the PowerPoint presentation as a presenter. It's your responsibility to make sure that those are okay. Even if somebody else creates it and you're going to be the presenter, you need to make sure that it fits with what you want it to do. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back to slide number 1 and double click. Just so you know, you don't have to be in that view to do a transition. If I'm on slide 1, I could still go to transitions up on the ribbon and I could choose a transition that I wanted to apply. Just so you know, you could still do it in this view. I just find it much easier to do it in the slide sorter view. For me, I've done this since the beginning of PowerPoint, and I just find this to be the best way. But anyway, what is an animation? An animation is based on objects. So like if I go to slide number 2, I can actually select this bulleted list, and if I want these bullets, these, I should say, this numbered list, if I want these to come in one at a time, I can animate an object. We can't animate a slide. You have to select an object on the slide to apply the animation. And this is going to help you as a presenter to make sure the objects are coming in when you want to talk about them, because otherwise people are reading ahead. So if you want to have a discussion about number one before you go to number two, don't show number two. Don't show the rest of the numbers until you bring them in to the slide itself. So if I select this text box object, I can go to the animations tab on the ribbon, and I'm going to choose this fly in animation. Just so you could see, just like with the transitions, you have a ton of them to choose from. I'm going to click fly in. But then I'm going to go to the right-hand side says effect options, because I want to choose how they're going to come into the slide. Are they going to come in from which direction do I want the paragraphs to come in? And do I want it to all come in at one time or one paragraph at a time? So starting at the very bottom, you can see as one object all at once, or I can say by paragraph. I want them to come in by paragraph. So one at a time, 1 through 5. If I go back to that effect options, what direction do I want them to come in from? Maybe I want them to come in from the right-hand side of the screen. So when I click right, you can see how it's automatically going to do that. But just so you're aware, the timing can be set as well. Because if you know you want 2 seconds before it jumps to the next bringing in that next paragraph automatically, you don't have to click to advance the next item. You can have it set up as timing. If you go to the animations tab on the right-hand side is where the timing is. By default, it's doing a click. You click to bring the next item into the slide. But if you click on that drop down for on click, choose after previous. Then you could go to where it says delay and choose how many seconds do you want it to delay before it brings in the next item. Let me show you what I have so far with this. I chose 0.75 delay. So when it comes in, the next one's going to automatically come in when I run this presentation. But I'm going to go back to slide 1. Because remember I mentioned that slide 1 had timing to it, where it's going to automatically advance after 3 seconds. So the title comes on when I run the presentation, and then if you look at the right-hand side where it says, I got to go to transitions. On the transitions, you can see that it has on mouse click, or if you turn that off, you can say you want it to automatically move after 3 seconds. Now, if I want it to move after 2 seconds, I can change this. So right now, after 2 seconds, it's going to automatically move from slide 1 to slide 2. I'm going to go to slide 2, and on the transitions tab, you can see that after 5 seconds, it's going to automatically transition. But if I'm doing animation, is that enough time? I might want that to be an on click. So I'm going to change that to not be after 5 seconds. I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to check on mouse click. Let me show you what I have so far. I'm going to be on slide 1, and up on my quick access toolbar at the top left, I'm going to click this start from beginning. It will run the presentation, and after 2 seconds, it automatically switched over to the course outline, and after 0.75 seconds, it's automatically moving each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto the screen. But I have to click my mouse to advance to the next slide. So then I click to go to the next one, and you can see the transitions happening. This one has animation on this smart art object, where I have it bringing in one object at a time, coming from the left-hand side. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to press escape. Now, how did that just work? Well, let me show you how that actually worked. I'm going to go back to that PowerPoint, And this particular slide, this object was animated. So if I go to the Animations tab, what I had done was said fly in. I wanted these objects to fly in from the left-hand side of the screen, and I have them on click. So every time I click my mouse, it's automatically bringing one of these in. Now, if I want to change it, all I have to do is go to this tab on the ribbon and I can modify it. But let me show you how that actually got set up. Let me go to another Smart Art object. So here is another Smart Art object. It's got these circles and each of these objects. I went to the Animation tab. I chose Fly In, which is a very popular option. Then I went to the Effect options, and down under the Sequence, I wanted to bring in one level at a time. Or I can say level, a whole level at once. I can say one by one. So I like how you get the previews, see what it's doing. So whichever one you want to choose that option. And then you could choose which direction you want it to come from as well. I'm going to keep it at from the bottom. So that's how it's going to come in. Now it's going to come in by clicking to go to the next one, to bring the next one in. If I want to set up the timing, I do this where I go to where it says on click and I say after previous, then I choose the delay option. So I have 0.5 seconds is what it's going to do now. So just so you could see, transitions and animation are great options when you are a presenter. So let me go back and I'm going to run this one more time for you, but I want to start, let's say that I want to start on slide number 4. If I go to the icon on my quick access toolbar, it starts at slide 1. Well, what if I were practicing and I left off on slide 4 and that's where I wanted to start? I can go to the slideshow tab of the ribbon. And on the left-hand side, I can start the presentation from current slide. When I do that, it automatically takes me to that slide. Then I can use, and let me show this to you on that screen. This is the presenter view that you need to become very comfortable with. If you have speaker notes, they're going to appear over here where it says click to add notes. Here's my current slide. I use these arrows to navigate from slide to slide, or unless it's set up with timing. I can see my next slide. And then you can advance and you've got different tools that you could use. So if you want to use a pen or a laser, but every time that you want something to come in, you're clicking. Then it's going to click to go to the next one unless you have that timing set up. There's the video that automatically ran. And then if I click to advanced, if I want to do that sound, I have to play it manually because I didn't set it up to automatically play. So now it's playing that sound. I can press escape or simply go to my next slide to have it automatically run. This video, I didn't have it set up to automatically start. And by the way, that's my son. He's a disc golfer. But this is where you could just click to automatically start it and pause. So if you want to do a discussion, then you can start it again. But otherwise, if it's automated, it's going to keep running. So sometimes you want to click when you want to start your video. That can be an important tool when you're the presenter. But then as soon as you go to your next slide, I didn't have any animation on these bullets. Everybody's going to see everything all at once. So keep in mind, sometimes it's good to have things come in one at a time, so that you don't have to be having everybody see everything right away. You can see one thing at a time. Now I'm going to press escape to stop this slideshow from running. Let me close that again. So anyway, back to talking about running this presentation. So when it comes to this presentation, another very important tool is speaker notes. So when it comes to each slide, if you go down to your status bar down at the bottom, you could click notes, and that's going to allow you to pop up this little window at the bottom where you can be adding in speaker notes. Normally I start on slide 1 and I click where it says to add notes, and I add in, welcome everyone, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put in whatever it is that I'm going to say. Then I'm going to go to slide 2, and I'm going to click to add in whatever I want for speaker notes. Now, of course, I could use Copilot to help add these in as well. I could go to Copilot from the Home tab of the ribbon. I could go to Copilot and I could say, write speaker notes for every slide. And as soon as I press enter, it's going to write them right within the Copilot window where I could copy and paste them into this notes area, just so you know you could do that. Great option to have, but it's up to you. Sometimes I like to write my own because, I'm the one that's going to be saying it as the presenter anyway. So just so you know, Copilot can help you if you want it to. So here I could come in and I could say, okay, this is what we're going to talk about on slide 1. I'm going to replace it with this. So I'm thanking everybody for joining. I like to have every sentence be one line, however you want to organize them. Then you could go to slide 2, either write it or you could copy and paste what Copilot wrote, but it's totally up to you how you want to do it. How does that work when you run your presentation? Well, if I go back and run this presentation, I'll show you the speaker notes here, or the speaker screen. This is the speaker screen, so the slides that had notes, they appear over here on the right-hand side, just so you could see that. So the one that I added it to, okay? So let me close that. Because if you are going to be the presenter, sections can be an important part as well. Because are you going to be the host and then you're going to have 2 or 3 other presenters doing different topics or different slides, whatever the case might be? Adding sections to your presentation is a great way to organize it and be able to change it. So let's say that slides 1 and 2, I want to actually be in a section together. I'm going to go to slide 3 and do a right click. On the left-hand side in my slide navigation, I'm going to right click and I'm going to add section. I'm going to give the section a name and I'm going to say slides 1 and 2 is the intro slides. Oops, I have to spell that correctly. Then I'm going to go to slide 12 because this is the second lesson and I want to insert another section. I'm going to right click on slide 12. I'm going to say add section and I'm going to say section 2. Now I'm going to click rename, but then I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to slide number 25 and I'm going to add another section. Sometimes sections can be based on who the presenter's name is. So let's say that Susan is going to be the presenter for the rest of these slides. I don't have to name it based on the topic. I could give it the name of who the presenter is. What is this doing over on the left-hand side? Well, let's say that I'm not working on Susan's slides right now. I could go to this section name and click on the arrow next to it and shrink all those slides up. I can see there's 83 slides in that section. If I scroll up and I'm not working on section 2, I could go to the arrow next to it, shrink that up, and I can see there's 13 slides in that section. I want to work on these slides. I can collapse and expand these sections at any time. So once I'm done working on my slides in this group, I could actually expand the next one, shrink that one up. Or what if I needed to rearrange my slides? All of these intro slides need to come after section 2. I can click and drag on the left-hand side and rearrange my sections. It takes every slide that was in that particular section and moves it. That is a super easy way to keep slides together and be able to move them very quickly and easily. You can always right-click on any section and you will see that if you decide you wanted to remove all the sections, you could. or you could remove sections and slides. If I wanted to remove this section too and every slide related to it, be careful because it will remove your slides. Or if I want to remove just that section, I can, or I can rename it, I can move it up and down. I can even say I want to collapse or expand the sections. I'm going to say expand all, and it expanded out every slide within every section. So right clicking is going to be an easy way to manage each section. And of course, that's all in your handout, talking about all of those great little tips. But there is something else that is extremely important when you are a presenter, and that's setting up the show itself. You need to know, how is this going to be presented? Are you going to, go through each slide, either clicking to advance it or having it automatically timed? Do you want all these slides every single time? Or are you going to have different audiences? I could be in HR and have a slideshow created that has slides that are related to full-time or part-time employees. But I want all the slides kept in one slide deck together. I could create custom shows. Let me show you what I mean. If you go to the tab on the ribbon called Slideshow, what this is going to give you across this ribbon is one of them that you should definitely check out is rehearse timings. If you start on slide 1 and go to this rehearse timings, it's going to automatically start your presentation, and it's keeping track of how long you are talking up at the top. As soon as you advance to your next slide, of course, then you're still talking and it knows how much time you are keeping on that particular slide. As soon as you stop, you can actually total. Based on all my slides I just did, it was a total of 15 seconds. Do I want to save those timings? Because somebody's going to come back and say, how long is your presentation going to take? That's an easy way to determine. So practice by doing that rehearse timings. But you need to set up the show. So back to the slideshow tab again. Oh, by the way, there's a rehearse with coach as well. Highly recommend that because it will come back and let you know if you say the word like or then or the too much. It will give you some tips on, are you talking too fast? You're talking too slow? It will give you tips on everything. Those are presenter wonderful tools to use. But you have to set up the show first. So if you go to set up slideshow, this is where you could choose the type of show you're going to do. Is it going to be presented by full speaker, or what if this is going to loop until you press escape? What if you're going to be at a trade show and this is going to be a presentation that's going to run like a movie from slide 1 through slide 50 and then start over at slide 50 and just keep going through the slides over and over again? This is where you set that up. So it's very important to have this set up before you show your presentation. Now, I'm just going to keep it on the default, which is if you're going to stand up in front of an audience, or even if you're just sitting and, at a TV screen, whatever. Then a custom show. On this slideshow tab is custom slideshow. I'm going to click on that drop down. I don't have any created right now. I'm going to click custom shows. I'm going to click new because there aren't any created right now. And what this is going to allow you to do is to give each show a name. So in that HR presentation, I'm going to call this HR full-time. So these are the slides that I want to use to present to all the full-time employees. I'm going to go to the left-hand side and I'm going to choose all the slides that I want to be a part of the full-time slideshow. I'm not choosing every slide. I'm only choosing the ones I want to be for full-time employees. Then I can click Add, and it adds those slides to the right-hand side of the screen. Once I have all slides added from left to right, you click OK. So now I have a custom show called HR Full-Time. I'm going to create another new one by clicking New. This time I'm going to name it HR Part-Time. And I'm going to choose the slides that I want to use. So I can be picking and choosing exactly the slides I want included for that group of people. Then you click Add, and it's going to add them to the right-hand side. Then click OK. So I have two different custom shows. I'm going to close this window. If I just run the presentation like you normally would, going to the top left or pressing F5 to start from the beginning, it's going to do every single slide. It does every slide. I just pressed Escape to stop it. If I want to run just the full-time, the HR full-time custom show, I can go back to the slideshow tab of the ribbon, click the icon for custom slideshow, and click HR full-time. It's going to start the show, but the only slides it's going to do is the ones that I chose to add to this presentation for full-time. No other slides are going to show. I'm going to press Escape to stop that. If I want to do the part-time, I go back to Custom Show. I click HR Part-Time. It's only going to show the slides that I had for part-time. Just so you could see, it automatically can be set up based on which slides do you want for which audience. Those to me are great, easy tools to use so that I don't have to have separate presentations and have to manage them to make changes, that kind of a thing. This is a no-brainer to me. But what if I'm going to run this presentation for a special group of managers or leaders in the organization, and I just don't want to see slide 2? I don't need it for this presentation. I can go to the left-hand side, right-click on slide number 2, and I could hide the slide. If you hide slides, as soon as you run the presentation, it skips those slides. Notice that the number 2 on the left-hand side has a slash through it. That's letting you know that it is hidden. If I say from beginning, it's going to do this slide, then it's going to skip the second slide because I hid it. So you have different options, custom shows versus hiding slides. Hiding slides can be monotonous. I don't like doing it all the time. I'd rather do a custom show if I have a lot of them. If you're going to be hiding a lot of slides, save yourself time and just do a custom show. I'm going to go back and right-click on slide number 2 again, and I'm going to say unhide slide. So if you want to bring it back, you can unhide it at any time that you want to. So we've been through a lot of different discussion today. We started out with a master slide. As a presenter, to me, that is a major tool. It's more of an advanced tool, but it's definitely something you want to work with because you want to have consistency on your slides like your company logo, specific formatting to appear on different slide content. You just want to modify those masters instead of manually having to do it yourself. Never manually do anything because that's going to be a pain for you to have to keep up with. So you definitely want to take advantage of having that opportunity to be able to do that. Manual doesn't work in PowerPoint. We talked about, using those layouts and how important they can be. We talked about transitions. We talked about animation. Less is more. You don't always need both. Use appropriate transitions and animations. You don't want to lose your audience. Make it appropriate for your audience. But definitely use these tools on the slideshow tab. The slideshow tab has things like custom slideshow, rehearse with coach, setup slideshow, and rehearse with timings. These are things to practice with. You don't have to save it. Use it just to practice with, because the more you practice, the better the presentation will end up being. Is that right, Matthew?